Now we will discuss genres. Genres refers to the type and structure of language typically used for a particular purpose in a particular context. Genre is directional, patterned, continuous, and purpose-oriented activity. Genres also refer to form of arts, written, spoken, audio, visual, based on specific set of stylistic criteria. And that is what we mean by saying that a type and structure of language typically used. So there is a certain set of stylistic criteria that is behind the genres that we come across in order to understand or get into a process of any discourse. Genres can be aesthetic, communicative, as well as functional. They provide us with the general expectation of how the information will be arranged in particular context. If you look at newspapers or different magazines or any musical or poetry or any drama, you will look at these as different genres and having a specific stylistic way of text that is being presented in these different discourses. So they deal with the stylistic criteria, and that stylistic criteria enables the reader to understand or interpret the information that is given in these different genres. Genre is a type of discourse that has characteristic structure. Now, we have genres for among so many other things. You can have lectures, sermons, opinions, articles, inauguration speeches, comedy monologues. So, genres are important because they provide us with the general expectations. For example, news articles, journal articles, what type of information is there and how that information is arranged. The organization of, let's say, news article in a newspaper can be thought of as an inverted pyramid. The most inverted pyramid. Now, it's inverted pyramid means the most important points are introduced in the headline and at the beginning of the article. As the article progresses, less important details are brought in. Now, this structure is directly related to the way news stories are edited. If space is not available for the entire article as written, the editor typically deletes paragraphs near the end of the story. So the way the information is organized in the news articles or in the newspaper, the most important piece of information is given at the start or sometimes in the form of headlines, and then as you move on and as you start going into the details of the headlines, you see that less important information continues to follow. Narrative discourse, typically stories begin with the introduction of characters and settings. So when we are looking at the narrative discourse, we see that the information that is given is that stories have the introduction and then you have the setting. Introduction of the main theme based on the characters. The main character sets out with some sort of goal or objectives, runs into or faces obstacles, and ultimately resolves the dilemma. Now, there are many different genres of stories. In fact, there are different ones for detective stories, fairy tales, romance, suspicion, horror, all these. Detective or suspense stories, for instance, create interest in a crime and supply possible motives for usually several suspects along the way. A skilled writer will drop enough clues for readers to anticipate. So anticipation is there, leading to unfolding and then to the climax. So it has been said that in the beginning of a story, everything is possible. In the middle, some things become probable, but in the end, one result is very important. It's necessary. Now, narrative discourse can be contrasted to expository discourse, in which the goal of the writer is not to tell a story, but rather to convey information about the subject matter. Now, this is the form of discourse that we encounter when we are reading textbook or, for the most part, listening to a lecture. The emphasis is on presenting the information in an organized and logical manner. The emphasis is not on the introduction per se, but rather the organization of the information and how the information is logically in a sequence manner is organized. So narrative, as you say, discourse deals with telling a story, starting with the introduction where information is more or less complete, moving on to the middle part which seems probable, and then leading to a climax or the end of the story. But when we are dealing with the expository, we follow the more organized and logical manner of conveying information. Genre is a distinctive part of culture that has purpose and steps, as well as language features, which has relationship to the purpose, steps, and the distinctive cultures. The difference or differentiation should be interpreted by referring to the social and cultural context in which context exists. Since genres are, when they are written in a specific culture, they represent the art forms and the music forms or any such dramas, stories, articles, the ones that are representative of that specific culture.